So I got properly angry for the first time in my life at 31, and I expressed it fully. And what it did for me was just unlock all of these parts of myself, these dormant parts, these energy blocks that like ignited my spirit. It moved me into my courage, it moved me into action. And from that, I felt like all of those pieces in me started moving again. And I see this so much, especially in the spiritual spheres, that anger is a negative emotion and we can breathe it away. And I'll, power of now, sit back into my seat of consciousness and none of that affects me. It's like, okay, we can do this at times. If I'm in traffic and I started feeling getting angry, why would I can breathe that away. It's silly. That's a poor use of anger. But anger used wisely, transmuted into sacred action, is powerful and is a great force. It's like money and sex. These powerful forces in the world can destroy you, but transmuted and used well, they can make you. They can give you a whole new level of power. And suppressing anger is like suppressing sex. And most of us have, because we've been brought up in the West where anger is bad. If you get angry, don't get angry, don't get angry, don't get angry. And doing that is just locking us in. And that's happened at such a young age that most of us don't know we have things stored. That's the same as me. And I see it in many men. I have many friends who are like, no, I'd never get angry. It's like, there's a part of you that hasn't unlocked. And for me, it ignited the flame. It ignited the masculine spirit. What happened for me was at age of 31, my father was sick with cancer and I decided to go look after him for 6 months. Then COVID started. So COVID was my first step into the online sphere, and I made a few videos at the start about the unjustness of it all. And moving into that space, I realized how much fear I had. The reason I hadn't gone into it was because of fear of being seen for whatever reason. And if it wasn't for the anger to push me into that courage and then into action, I wouldn't have taken that step. I remember when I got angry and I was like, whoa, this feels good. And it was the first time that I felt anger. And what I did, to my credit, was transmuted that into positive action. But then I enjoyed feeling angry so much. This is what I do when I step into a new sphere and I enjoy the feeling of it. I'll be like, let's explore this. I let myself be angry for maybe a month. I'd see people down the street in their masks and I'd be thinking some pretty vicious thoughts. And by the end of that month, I realized it wasn't serving me anymore to sit in that anger, to let it fester and like fire me, but using it sharply and passionately, as I did stepping up in COVID, was a great use of it. And it's funny how shamed you get when you're speaking about that topic where there was clearly we're having our rights taken away, especially in Australia. And people are like, oh, you're getting angry. It's like, this is passion. And I should be angry. You should be angry. But the Australian reaction was just so common on what type of men we're working with. We've been so conditioned for people pleasers, good boys. It's virtuous to do what everyone says and keep the peace. No, it's not. It's virtuous to stand up for truth. And to stand up for truth, you're going to need your balls, and that will probably involve being angry at some point. If you've never been angry, I guarantee you there is a part of you that is suppressed, and there is an energy block that you haven't expressed. This was my first step, but a few months later, I got the full activation, which was looking after my father. Now, I met my true father underneath his shame and his layers with a few days left in his life. He's a great man, and yeah, I'm so grateful for that journey. I might talk about it at another stage. But the personality dad that I was looking after for 6 months is a very, very, very dysfunctional, angry, paranoid man, unfortunately. A few months into that journey, he'd managed to piss me off enough, and I went home and I just started swearing. I just started unleashing. All of these things started coming out, which is rare for me. I was a chiller, a passive. Everything's calm. Mum and dad fight, sister's crying. I'm chilling on the couch, disassociated, suppressed. Anyway, I'm letting it out, and cool timing by mum, she arrives. She starts walking upstairs, and I'm like, I gotta keep going here. So I just go on this barrage, and all of these things come up, and I just start swearing. And to mum's credit, she just sat there, listened. Then when I finished, she said, how do you feel? And I said, good, really good. I'd seen mum get angry probably 5 times in her life, so she understood where this was coming from. But from there, she went home and I was sitting there going, whoa, I needed that. I didn't know all of that was stored. Even my words, they were deep and they were from the past. And I didn't know that I'd carried that. And it's easy to go on the yoga trip and like, I did it for years where it was like, it was cool to just be flowy. Nothing phases me because I can rest in that seat of consciousness. And we can use this at times. We can use this when we're in road rage. We can use this, like, you shouldn't get angry with your partner. There's no need to get angry in those situations. Like, you can be artful and you can be firm without ever being angry. If she is hitting you in spots, that does show weakness. That's a different side. And I get that there is a dark side to anger, but there's also a dark side to money and sex and these things. And we don't suppress them or avoid them. And if we do, it comes back in bad ways. But if you've never activated that part of yourself, I guarantee you there is an energy force there which can move you into action. I think, did I speak about it already? But the scale that I read in the book, the vibratory levels, where it's shame and guilt on the bottom, and it goes up all the way to love and bliss. Shame and guilt, the lowest vibratory states. Then there's apathy, this apathy of this numbness, this feeling of nothingness. And then there's anger. I feel like most of society revolves in there, and people who are getting angry are then shaming themselves and coming back to the bottom because they're not using it wisely. But the cool thing about that chart is that from anger you go into courage, and from courage you go into action, and from action you go into the higher vibratory states. This is a catalyst. This is a changing point that can move us into the higher vibratory states. We can use it wisely. And unfortunately, especially in Australia, men are unactivated, and that's why they went along with the garbage. They were passive. They think they're virtuous for doing nothing and following along with the rules. And there's just this spark missing. Like, I half activated in Spain and living in these countries with this vibrancy, this culture. And I always ask Latina or Spanish women in Australia if they date an Australian man. They say, yeah. And I say, was it boring? And I'm like, yeah. And I feel like he's like, holds things in. He can't express himself. Yes, this is the wound in Australia and probably other Western countries. We have these underactivated and underexpressed men being good boys, doing what school and our conditioning told us to do. You need to trust yourself to be able to express your rage, find ways to get it out. I'm not angry hardly ever anymore. Ever. Like, I had the phase. There's different things that pop up that'll annoy me, but it's not like I'm anger all the time now. It's like, no, but it unlocked that. And if there was an injustice again, I would use that anger to move me into action. We need to not be scared to wield our power, to use it wisely, to use it as our gifts, because I promise you, if there's suppressed anger and it's never been expressed, there's gifts there that you can't reach. You can't fathom until it unlocks. If you are one of those guys and you can feel that, women are actually a good guide, that they can sense it. Like, I have friends in relationships where women can feel like they've got something blocked, but they're not able to identify it. And even us, I didn't know I had something stuck until I had those catalysts, and it was obviously my time to express. There is those men's things where they go beat their chest and start screaming and all of those things. Hey, maybe they work. But we all feel anger. I don't think there's a guy in this world who's like, oh, I don't have the anger emotion. I'm one to try unlock all of me, to integrate it, and then try use it wisely. Yes, there is a dark side. Yes, this isn't for people who are angry all the time. And like, yeah, you've just given me permission to be more angry. If you've been angry a lot, you'll feel the dark side of it as well. But there are ways to use that energy force to move us into the higher vibratory states. Action is what we're here to do as men. We're here to lead, we're here to act, and we do need to stand up for the truth, and you'll need all of yourself online for that.